Hi guys and welcome to Prediction Week 19. I'm doing this one today, and then I'll do the weekend's fixtures tomorrow or Friday. So for this prediction video, we start with this weekend's Friday night football. We have Arsenal versus Liverpool at 7:45. This is going to be a really interesting game, I think. Both teams are quite poor at the back, but they're quite good going forward. It's always entertaining with Liverpool versus Arsenal. There's always goals. I mean, who remembers last season when the first start of the season it was 4-3 to Liverpool. So that was a lively start to the Premier League. As I said, they're always lively games. We've had some crazy ones over the years, especially at Anfield as well. But it's at the Emirates. But I remember at Anfield the 4-4. There's been a 3-3 at Anfield as well. As I said, a 4-3 at the Emirates last year. Sorry. So it's always a lively one. The Gunners versus the Reds, if you like. And I'm going to go for a lively game again in this one because, like I said, both teams like to attack. Mohamed Salah, is it? He's knocking goals in for fun at the moment. And hopefully Lacazette will play on Friday as well, because Giroud sadly picked up an injury on yesterday's game against West Ham in the cup. Knowing Wenger's luck, knowing how luck he'll go bloody well back up front. But no, you need to start playing your best players for these games, and I think he will play Lacazette. And as I say, Mohamed Salah is probably Liverpool's best player at the moment as well, along with Roberto Firmino. I mean, Roberto Firmino always loves scoring past Arsenal, so he's likely to get a goal as well. So I'm going to go for a really, really lively game in this one. I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2. Now we go to Saturday's fixtures at 12:30. We have Everton versus Chelsea. Again, Everton's starting to get a couple of a bit of a good run going now. Okay, fair enough. You could say that they haven't really played anybody. I mean, they got absolutely battered against Liverpool, like I said, and they were lucky to get a point out of that one. Chelsea's not been too great either. As I said, they lost to West Ham last week. They've not been too great, but again, they're picking up results left, right, and centre. Do you know what I mean? But apart from the West Ham one. But they've not been playing great, if you know what I mean. They haven't really looked convincing. A bit like Arsenal, really. Excuse me. We've picked up points, but there's been games like we picked up points against West Ham, and there's been games, and you're like, God, that was absolutely dreadful. Picked up a point against Southampton. So it's the same with Chelsea. I think Chelsea, they're a little bit better than Arsenal, but they're in that kind of same position. They're picking up points, but they're not playing great. And again, they probably will struggle a little bit to Everton because they say they're not playing great, but I do think they'll nick it because I think that obviously Chelsea are the stronger side to Everton, even though it is at Goodison Park. I'm going to go Everton 1, Chelsea 2. Then we have Brighton versus Watford. Obviously I spoke about Brighton, they have dipped a little bit. Watford's had a bit of a poor season, but it's at home, it's at Brighton. I think Brighton can win this quite comfortably. I'm going to go Brighton 2, Watford 0. Then we have Manchester City versus Bournemouth. Now, I was thinking of this one because, and I'll get to the West Ham one as well in a bit. But I was thinking of this one. I thought, Manchester City played yesterday. It went to, I'm not sure if you have extra time, or I'm not sure if you go to extra time in the quarterfinals. It just went straight to penalties. But obviously, it went to penalties. So it was a long night, for Manchester City. And I thought, is Bournemouth going to cause them a bit of problems? Are there going to be a bit of tiredness in there? I'm not sure. But then I looked at it and I thought, even if they did play, yesterday, and even if it did go to extra time penalties, I still think that Manchester City is going to be far too strong for Bournemouth, especially at the Etihad as well. So I did, in the end, I've gone Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 1. They are really looking really strong at the moment, Manchester City. But will they go invincible? I'm not sure. I hope not. But you can't fault it if they do. They do go invincible. You can't fault it. You just got to congratulate it, to be honest. And say that they are where they are for a reason. So you can't really be bitter about it. You just got to congratulate them really, and just take it on the chin, I suppose. Now we have Southampton versus Huddersfield. I've gone for another lively game in this one because when I do watch Southampton, I have like. A lot of people are saying that I haven't been to Southampton that we've seen this year, but when I've seen them play, they've always looked the part. They've always caused problems, and they're always, I'm not sure where they are this season, but they always seem to be up there. Towards the end of the season, they're always about 9th, 8th, something like that. You know, in Huddersfield, like I said, they haven't really been faced by the Premier League either. You know, they've same as Brighton and your Newcastles. You know, as I've spoke about them this year. And I'm going to go for a really, really live game in this one. I'm going to go Southampton 2, Huddersfield 2. Then we have Stoke versus West Bromwich Albion. That's a bit of a West Midlands derby, you know. So for that, I'm going to go for a tight draw. I'm going to go Stoke 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. Then we have West Ham versus Newcastle. Obviously, I spoke about Manchester City. Now, this is where I think it might come into play, you know, because obviously West Ham played with Arsenal yesterday, and yes, they did lose 1-0. But again, is that going to take a lot out of them? You know, playing midweek action and then having a game on the weekend. You know, just 3 days later. You know, so is that going to play a part? Maybe, which is why I've gone West Ham 0, Newcastle 1. I think Newcastle will just about scrape it because I think, you know, West Ham's probably going to be a little bit tired. You know, playing against Arsenal yesterday, and they did play quite well. You know, as I'm led to believe, it was a bit of a boring game, but again, they did play quite well. You know, blocking things and defending everything left, right, and centre, which is why we only had the tight scoreline in the end. So I think that might have took a little bit out of them. So we'll see how that pans out. But but as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go Newcastle to win that 1-0. Then we have Swansea versus Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace getting a couple of results under the belt now, and I know that Swansea is going to make it quite hard. But I think Crystal Palace. Again, I think they're going to be too strong for Swansea, and it's those teams, and I say that they need vital 3 points when you're down the bottom. And this time, I'm going to give 3 points. I'm going to give it to Crystal Palace. I'm going to go Swansea 1, Crystal Palace 2. And then at 5:30 we have Burnley versus Tottenham at 5:30. Yeah. And again, I spoke about Tottenham haven't really looked great recently. Burnley do make it hard for teams, but again, I think that Tottenham are going to be far too strong for Burnley. So, and for that, I'm going to get them to nick it. And again, I'm going to go for the same result: Burnley 1, Spurs 2. And at 7:45 on the Saturday, which is a weird kick-off, really, we have Leicester versus Manchester United. Again, I think it's going to be the same for Leicester as well. You know, playing against Manchester City, and they said I'm not sure if it went to extra time. Or if it just goes straight into penalties. I'm not sure how it works, these new bloody rules, because they keep changing everything. I don't even know. Half of us don't even know where we are in the game anymore. So again, I think that might have took a lot out of them, you know, to go to extra time against Manchester City. And again, they probably threw a lot out of it as well. I didn't watch the game. Obviously, I was listening to ours, so they probably threw a lot at Manchester City, you know, to draw 1-1 as well. You know, so. For that, again, I'm going to go for Manchester United to nick it. I'm going to go Leicester 1, Manchester United 2. So that has been my predictions for this weekend coming up, and I'll give you tomorrow or Friday the predictions for Boxing Day and the fixtures leading up to the weekend after that. So thank you for watching, guys.